ahead and wait for one of our members to come in here, and then we'll get this meeting started.
So is there a meeting tonight, Sue? I am going to be presenting to the road commission. Okay. But they will, kind of giving an overview of the plan and the process, and then also talking a little bit in more detail about the 4-mile road end, because they'll need to provide an easement. Right.
Meeting to order, Thursday, March 19th, 2026. We'll go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll do our roll call, led by Sam.
Hey, Alex Pennell,
Present.
Ali Diola,
Here.
Beth Friend, Chris Cargill, Don Noka,
Here.
Jason Barcombe, Rob Bruning,
Here.
Steve Faringa,
Yes.
Tyler Dome.
Okay. As for our agenda, is there anyone who has reviewed it for conflict of interest? Okay, I see no conflict of interest. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support that.
The agenda is approved. We're going to move into our public comment. I don't see anyone present in the room. Is there any other public comment to be entered? Okay. No public comment. We will look at approving the minutes from our last meeting, February 19th, 2026. Do we have motion to?
Motion to approve.
I'll support.
The meeting minutes from February 19th, 2026 have been approved. And now we'll go into our financial report.
We do not have any updates from the financial. We still have the seed money that was provided by the Township Board, and none of those funds have been spent to date.
Wonderful. So the financial report still stands at $50,000 in the account, as discussed at the last meeting. Are there any staff updates?
I have a few. So, good morning, everyone. Did want to just note that we joined the MDA, the Michigan Downtown Association. So I think I sent out an email to the board just with some resources linked to the website. There's some really good resources on that site, so I'd encourage you to take a look. And they do send out a somewhat regular newsletter. So as we receive interesting information, if we see webinars or interesting resources, we'll continue to share that out with the Corridor Improvement Authority Board. I think, the township is very supportive of education. So even if some of the, future opportunities, perhaps you're interested in attending a meeting of MDA, they have some kind of regional gatherings. So we definitely would be supportive of Corridor Improvement Authority members engaging in some of those education opportunities. They do a lot with TIF, with the tax increment financing. They have a lot of resources on marketing, outreach, wayfinding signage. placemaking, streetscape, so, and just a lot of resources. So we're excited to be connected with that and join that membership program. Similarly, there's also the Michigan Main Street program, which is generally tailored more to like a traditional downtown, but they similarly have some really good resources. So they have, there's a kind of self-assessment that you can go through for Michigan Main Street and identify some gaps or areas for you to focus on. So that's something that we plan to bring back to this board, probably at an upcoming agenda. We'll have us kind of as a group go through that self-assessment and kind of identify some areas that we can focus on to kind of move towards some of the best practices for Michigan Main Street. So just a heads up on that. The Grand Traverse County Road Commission, Beth and I are planning to attend that meeting this evening. So we'll be presenting to the Road Commission on the Corridor Improvement Authority. They are, and I'm going to give a little more update on the county TIF policy that's under development, but the way that we're seeing this, the new county TIF policy that's being developed, any special millages for specific projects, programs are going to be exempted from TIF capture. So Grand Traverse County Road Commission will not be included in our revenue projections, and we are going to show you some updated projections based on that information. So tonight, we will not be asking the Road Commission to participate in the TIF, but it'll be more informational. And one thing that we're planning to highlight is that 4 Mile Road end and the opportunity for a park. They've expressed interest in abandoning that. So whether it's an easement to the township or just a straight abandonment, we'll kind of figure out the best legal strategy. But that's one thing that we'll be highlighting in the presentation tonight. So yeah, if any board members are interested in attending, you're more than welcome to, but it's a little bit less pressure because we're not going to be looking for that financial commitment tonight. And then similarly with the Grand Traverse County, they have been working on a policy for all TIF plans throughout Grand Traverse County. So I'd say kind of the impetus for working on it now has been with the Beach District Corridor Improvement Authority and wanting to make sure that they have a policy in place. But the policy that they're working on developing would apply to any other township, city that institutes a new or extended TIF plan. So we'll talk a little bit more about kind of what that draft plan looks like. Beth and I have attended a couple different work sessions and provided some comments and recommendations to the policy. So we've had some good discussions with the county and the county commissioners on that. So those are the only updates that we have.
Where did you say we can find those resources for the MDA?
I sent out an email, and if you can't find it, I'll forward it to you again. Yeah.
Was it last week where we were with public, was it last week where we did the public?
Oh, the public hearing.
Hearing, yeah.
Yes.
Was the road commission, were they opposed to, somebody stood up and I thought he said he represented the road commission, so I didn't know if that was
Yes.
personal or that was somebody representing the actual.
That is a good question. He is a resident who lives in the Pine Grove neighborhood.
Okay,
So he is a road commission board member as well.
okay,
So he is opposed to the TIF, and I think kind of more broadly, the Corridor Improvement Authority. I don't want to speak on his behalf,
okay, okay.
but I do think that it'll be nice to make a presentation to the Road Commission, just to give them a little more information. And thank you, Rob, for mentioning the public hearing. Rob did attend it. Was it last week?
I thought it was last.
I think it was last week, yeah. So we had the public hearing, and so that sets our clock for 60 days. We can't adopt this plan in less than 60 days after the public hearing, but we are kind of on track to adopt the plan. May 11th would be, or May 13th, I think, is the date of the next township board meeting.
How was the overall sentiment at the hearing?
I think, we didn't have a lot of comments. We had a few in support. We had one in opposition. Not a lot of discussion by the township board, but I'm really looking forward to the opportunity for the Corridor Improvement Authority to have the joint meeting next Tuesday evening with the township board. I think that will be a really nice opportunity, first to meet one another and just kind of start to establish that relationship, because anything that's recommended by the Corridor Improvement Authority ultimately has to be adopted by the township board. So just having that kind of that communication, open communication, and I think providing that opportunity to provide input on the plan before we're looking for adoption of the plan will be a nice opportunity. We found that has worked well when we're looking to adopt the master plan and the zoning ordinance, have a joint work session prior to the opportunity to adopt those plans.
Any other questions about the current updates? Okay, thank you for that, Claire. Moving on to business before the board. We're going to continue our discussion about the 2026 goal setting. I believe you all discussed this at some length at the last meeting, and you decided to wait until this meeting to get some more input.
Yeah, so what I did was kind of based on some of the input that was provided, discussion of kind of what the highest priorities were. I put together a work plan for 2026, and then I pushed a few of the projects to 2027. So you'll see with the 2026, we've got our Tiffin development plan. We're hoping to have that approved within the next couple months. Hopefully we can check that off our list. Other high priorities, I think we did talk about sidewalk maintenance as our #1 priority for this year. So a description, hiring a contractor who will maintain the sidewalks year-round and cover snow removal in the winter months. Also amending our sidewalk ordinance so that the sidewalks aren't officially closed in the wintertime. I think we can talk in a little more detail whether or not this would be appropriate for a Grand Traverse Band 2% grant. It might not, but that could potentially be a funding source that we could explore. Completing the sidewalk gaps on the Grand Traverse Band property. Likely, we wouldn't do the sidewalk this year, but we think that we could begin the preliminary design and apply for a TAP grant to have it slated for the 2028 preventative maintenance program. And so Steve has been helpful in just kind of helping us coordinate with tribal representatives and see if we can get that into the upcoming TAP, which is the Transportation Alternatives Program, to get some grant funding for that.
That schedule will work a little bit better because if we do anything with the tribal BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs road program, we have to do an environmental
Okay,
study,
okay,
do a phase 1, and if everything's good, you don't need to do a phase 2, but if there's questions, it goes into phase 2, and the GTP staff would do that, so there's no cost for us to do that, I believe, but I have to check. So that would add into the schedule
okay,
of that particular project.
okay. So maybe we could add the phase 1, maybe could
Yes.
begin this year too. Okay, that sounds good. We're looking at, the reason the City of Traverse City is a partner is because we're looking at doing a joint application with the City of Traverse City. They've got some sidewalk gaps in the city, and we've got some sidewalk gaps, and we could put in a joint grant application to coincide with MDOT's project that's coming in 2028. That's going to be from Garfield all the way to 3 Mile Road. So the 4 Mile Road end, we're looking to secure funding for the engineering feasibility and design work. So that funding will be announced, I think, in October of this year. So we're really not looking to do much on this project, but we're hoping to secure the funding. Coastal Zone Management Program will get back with us late in 2026. And we're also looking to enter into an agreement for township site control, and that will be our presentation tonight to the Road Commission, just to kind of get that conversation started. Special events, and we can talk about this in a little bit more detail, but we would like to identify one event. And when I say event, I'm thinking something smaller in scale. Like we talked with Ally and I met with Traverse City Tourism yesterday and talked about, maybe ice sculptures or like a large, like a Christmas tree lighting event at the 4 Mile Road end, something like that, where we could kind of just start to promote the district a little bit more and kind of like an event. And Sam will likely take the lead on kind of helping to organize and host an event. So any thoughts or input from this group on,
I think something like a tree lighting event would be really cool there. It'd be a big focal point.
Yeah.
And it would, get people understanding that we're doing something. Seems like it's a very low-cost activity, all in all, so I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool idea.
okay,
Anything like that doesn't cost a lot of money early on in the first year or two, I think we should really pay a lot of attention to.
okay, cool. So maybe we'll try to do a tree lighting this year.
That'd be cool. I thought of another, since we met yesterday, like, even if you did like an art walk or something, and each business, like, they had like one artist displayed, and people could like be promoted to kind of go to, like, Red Mesa has some, like, 3 pieces of art in their lobby, or like, that's also kind of a low-hanging
Okay.
option that would just promote people to visit other businesses or something like that.
That seemed to work well on 8th Street when we did that, to kind of promote that district.
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah. You thinking the murals? I think murals would be really fun, too.
I don't know if you'd get buy-in from the property owners, but like I
Yeah.
was saying, you could have artists on display, they have
Yeah.
pop-up tents and you walk
Yeah.
through. Gets people using the sidewalk, which
Yeah.
correlates directly to what we're trying to do and what we're spending money on.
Yeah, and like, they're doing it downtown right now, and so some of the pieces are for sale too, so it just promotes like buying from local artists as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a great idea.
Yeah, the sculpture would be cool too.
I don't know where the sculptures would go.
Yeah, that's.
The ice sculptures?
Yeah, I mean, just at the end of 4 Mile maybe, but
Yeah. It would be hard to see them driving by, so they would need to be kind of, if they're pedestrian scale.
Connect with the casino on who they get to do their ice sculptures,
Sure,
because they have really cool ones too.
yeah. Definitely tap into our marketing department, so definitely.
Would the State Park Beach be an option for something like that? I mean, it's so long, and there's plenty of parking, especially in the winter, just has to be plowed.
Good idea.
That would be cool. Do they plow it in the wintertime?
They typically do, I mean, not the whole thing, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
Some access.
I don't know if they did the other day, but
yeah. They're probably staging, they're staging right now.
I think they
for-
put snow there too,
Yeah,
so, but.
okay.
We did this is a long time ago, probably 40-plus years ago. It was like a winter fest, and it was done in East Bay. I think it was connected to Cherry Fest.
Oh, fun.
So it was like a winter, it lasted a few years.
What kind of events?
Well, that's when the bay froze every year, so it was out on the bay, a lot of it, but
Cool.
yeah, it was fun,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and it was connected with Cherry Fest. It seems like Cherry Fest is bringing back some of the old events,
Yeah.
so that could be it
Okay. That's
was
cool.
like a winter fest.
Like the winter, have you guys gone to Winterlocken? That's kind of a fun Winterfest type activity. There's lots of kids' activities and a lot of outdoor activities out there. and
It
then
was
we'll
like
do-
that, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I feel like this special events row has gotten some activity, like some excitement, and they're really low-cost activities, so I think we should pay attention to that and continue to think about how we can continue to use this district and get excitement for it.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds great. One thing that we'll need to think a little bit about is just the financing for the special events. With the way that the county's policy is being drafted, it would not cover special events. It would be really kind of infrastructure focused. And so it's looking like TIF funding, we'd be somewhat limited to more the infrastructure. So we need to look at other revenue sources for some of the special events. But with them being less expensive, I think that's
Find smart
certainly
ways to
something,
make it hard.
yeah.
I think what's nice about the winter stuff is it probably will maybe tend to appeal more to locals as opposed to tourists, which I think maybe some of the naysayers in this group is the reason they think we're doing it for tourism. And it's not just tourism, it's for locals as well. So I like the winter stuff.
I agree. I feel like some of these things, as I read through some of these goals and plans, I think of that myself. I go, how much of this is just supporting tourists and not the locals. You know, how do we get the locals to utilize what we're trying to do? And I think that's important to keep saying.
Okay, yeah. Are you thinking some of these work plan items are more tourist focused?
I think the the usage is going to end up being the tourists, rather than focusing on how to get the locals to buy in and use it. For example, sidewalk maintenance, hiring somebody to clear the sidewalks in the winter is wonderful, that's great, love the idea, but how many locals are going to be walking on those sidewalks? Versus, you know, how many tourists, and there's very few tourists in the winter. So what's the cost per tourist of clearing that sidewalk, is where my mind goes. Versus if we did activities that get people into the district, then at a later point, we need to clear the sidewalks because we have locals that want to use it.
I will say I see a lot of locals trekking it through the snow to get to beta stops on a daily basis. And like for us, for example, sometimes you have to use a sidewalk to go to work, like our parking, based on parking and stuff like that. So and those people work and live in the area. So there are locals that will like try to navigate the sidewalks that is a little challenging right now. So there might, I think there is still a little use as well for the locals too.
That's good to know, and
Yeah.
I don't know totally how much
Yeah.
usage. It'd be nice if we had some sort of metric. But we also have the Tart Trail behind, which acts as a, you know, sidewalk of sorts. So,
Yeah, it's mostly on the north side that's just limited,
yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Well, in the intersections of the Tart, so you're going down the Tart, and it's like, I just use my office as an example on 3 Mile. They try to get towards the bay. They go north from the trail right there, and they're, obviously right now is much more than usual, but they're trudging through there no matter what the conditions are, because they have to get from A to B. And, you know, those aren't tourists, you know, I think they're people trying to get to work, like Ally said. I see it every day.
It's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, well, thank you for some of the ideas for the special events. I think that's something, I don't want to speak on Sam's behalf, but I think that's definitely something we'll plan to tackle for this upcoming year. It might feed into 2027, but get something going this winter, not this upcoming winter. Okay. Quarterly breakfasts, we plan to continue, we might change the name because they're not quite quarterly, but continue the regular convening for the Beach District breakfast. I think that's been a really positive thing, both from information sharing as well as just networking. I think that it's been a really nice opportunity to have business owners meeting township staff and other agency partners. And so we've got one in May. We've got a couple speakers confirmed, one with Michigan Sea Grant. So anyway, we'll get more information out once we have that finalized, but I think that's something that we'll continue to move forward with. And then the Beach District zoning ordinance amendments, looking at standards related to signage, setbacks, trail connections, and placemaking. So that's something that we'll continue to look at probably through this year and possibly into 2027 with the Planning Commission, and likely come back to this board for kind of helping guide the ordinance amendments. Some of the ones that we were kind of looking at for 2026, but I've pushed into 2027, just assuming that we're probably kind of have a pretty full load at this point. I think that completing the sidewalk gaps along 4 Mile Road to get the neighborhoods and the Tart Trail connected is a pretty high priority. And I think that it's going to be expensive, but not $1 million. So I think that's definitely something that we can can move forward with and start to get a survey, identify the right-of-way, mark utility locations, identify locations needed for easements, and begin that easement discussions is something that we can move forward with as staff. I think the Transportation Alternatives Program would be a good candidate for that, and potentially something where we can kind of wrap everything up into that 4-mile road end project. We're looking to have that project extend all the way to the TART Trail in those 4-mile neighborhoods. The connections to the Refit and the Ridge, those were the two railroad crossings that we're looking at. So I think that that's something that we can tackle in the somewhat near term, working with the Land Conservancy, DNR, and the MDOT Rail Division to get those connections. I think especially as the Land Conservancy starts to build out their ridge property and some of those trails, it's going to be a really nice opportunity to get people across the railroad tracks over to the TART Trail.
One thing you probably just to verify is whether it's MDNR for the rail crossings, or do they lease it out?
So
I know
the.
to lease, they lease it out.
So the rail crossing approval would be through MDOT, but the MDNR has indicated that they would potentially be the holder of that easement because the insurance liability is quite high and not something the Land Conservancy could undertake. And so we, in our conversations, it sounded like the DNR could be the holder of the easement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we have 2 crossings out at Turtle Creek. We had to
Oh,
go
okay.
through a third party that has the lease on the railroad.
Oh, okay.
We had to use their contractors, pay their fees.
Oh, okay.
Not even work with the state.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so we'll probably have to explore different options.
Yes, possibly.
Okay,
Verify if it's
Yeah,
the rail
okay.
division.
okay, thank you.
I have a question or a comment on the timing of that. You know, I know the rail system is probably a long way off, but it's obviously in planning stages for passenger travel. If we waited to do it until that was, they were further along in their process, it might get harder for us to get this accomplished. But if we get it done sooner, it's already there.
That's a really good point. Yeah, so we should make sure it's safe as the rail line in the future increases their trips and stuff, but I think that is a really good point. And then the last one is the stormwater ordinance, and we are kind of working right now with the township engineer to update that ordinance and looking to integrate some of the green infrastructure best practices into the stormwater ordinance related to the beach district. I think the biggest thing with the beach district is just that's our area with the most intensive development and densest development. So having more opportunities for green infrastructure and also underground retention allows kind of for that highest and best use of the properties and the sites for development. But also, with the considerations that we're right in the Mitchell Creek watershed, we're right along East Grand Traverse Bay. We've got kind of sensitive areas throughout that corridor as well.
And then I would just note with the push for underground, it might constrict cross connections as, like for us, for example, just because the amount you have to raise your site to accommodate these systems. So it's like you're gaining 1+, but you're also losing something that the township also has a lot of interest in as well. So just one consideration there.
Yeah, unless we raise everyone.
Right. Once everyone goes up 6 feet.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there any comments, changes? I think this would be a good work plan, like just to have in our packets on a monthly basis. I can just kind of put that, at the front of the packet, maybe behind the financial report, just so we kind of have that top of mind as we work through the year. We can put it up on our website as well.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I think at the breakfast, it'd be great if at the beginning, whatever topic it is dedicated to, but you or someone just provides like a 10-minute update on this board so that
Yeah.
people feel, because a lot of times they're not coming to the public comment, but they still feel included in the process and
Yeah,
updated on what we're talking about.
That's a good idea, and we could maybe even have our chair just give
Yeah,
a little
just like
welcome
5 minutes,
introduction. Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's all that I had for that agenda item, so thank you. Do you want to approve, do you guys want to make a motion to approve the 2026 work plan? Just so we have that kind of formalized?
We have on there 3 to 5 goals. We have far more than 5. Are we okay with that? Do we want to maybe
We have, yeah.
rearrange this a little bit to accommodate that? Or do we like this work plan as is?
We have 7 right now. I feel that the quarterly breakfast and the development plan are kind of both like already kind of complete, or either they were already ongoing, or that with the development plan, we're pretty much done. So I'd be okay keeping with this unless there was one of these that you guys want to put on to 2027. And we may have a few of these push on to 2027. It's, yeah.
I think it's okay as long as we keep that word work plan in there. So it's not the plan, but it's a work plan, so I think it's okay.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, so if with the recommended motion, you could adjust that to just say the goals as opposed to the 3 to 5 goals.
Good. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the 2026 work plan as is in our packet?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion. So we have approved the 2026 work plan.
Or just all those in favor?
Oh, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now it's official. We've approved the 2026 work plan. Thank you all. And Claire, you said that would be something we want to put on our website for public
Yeah, we'll
visibility.
plan to put that on the Corridor Improvement Authority page of the website, and we'll also include it in the packets,
Great.
just kind of as a standing item.
Excellent. I think we all feel good about that list right now. Moving on to the 2% tribal grants.
Okay, so Steve was kind enough last meeting to just mention the 2% grants. I thought that was a great suggestion. And so there's not a lot of information available online. And in talking with some of the staff, both at the county and the band, about the grants and kind of what the requirements are. But the way I took it is that it's pretty open-ended. So I do think that this is a nice opportunity for us to apply. They have 2 application dates, one May 31st and the other November 30th. So I do think that it makes a lot of sense for us to move forward and make a grant application for the May 31st funding cycle. You'll see that there's a fair amount of flexibility for eligible projects. They said that this spring is a little bit more focused on schools, but that they would accept any types of projects. So I think that if you have a certain applicant that kind of keeps coming in, they might be a little bit more inclined to focus on the schools. But I think because this is our first time as an applicant, it would be appropriate to apply in this spring funding cycle. A few of the ideas that I came up with, and Steve definitely would be interested in your thoughts or guidance, but we could request seed money to begin the sidewalk maintenance along the US 31 corridor, with the understanding that like in the future, we'd have the revenue funding to maintain that. We could also get some funding to assist with the preliminary design engineering for the sidewalk along the Grand Traverse Band property. That might be something that is looked on, desirable, because that would serve serve the Grand Traverse band population as well as the broader community. Or we could also look at funds to continue the Beach District quarterly breakfast for another year, because I think our USDA grant revenue is coming to a close. So those were 3 thoughts that I had for funding, but would be interested in everyone's thoughts about what would be a good application, understanding that it's kind of a quick turnaround, so we wouldn't be looking to undertake a large project probably, but.
I just kind of have a question, just really not knowing, I see what the tribe funds every year in the newspaper. So what does the 2% mean? Like quantify or,
Like, where is it coming from?
no, like quantify it. What does 2% mean?
How much is the pool of money?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually, it depends on the revenue for the time. The winter is a slower time for our revenue, and it's for the slot machines only.
Okay.
And then the summer is our higher activity, higher revenue generating period. So each cycle is a little bit different as far as how much. And usually it's around 900,000 plus per cycle that they distribute funds. Could be more, could be less, depending on the revenue.
Excuse me, thank you.
How much is generally awarded? Is there a cap to the awards?
It's different. In
Okay.
fact, you could put in for an application for $50,000 and they'll come back and say, well, we'll give you 25.
Okay.
Or you could put in for 10,000 and they say, well, this is really good, we'll give you 20. It happens, so you never know. Or they could just say, no, thank you, tried.
But there's
Next cycle.
there's no limit on one applicant.
No, and I would recommend submitting every cycle, no matter what. It gets on the radar, plants the seeds, and they know you're serious about, you need the funds.
Okay.
So, and they do support this board, that's why they said, Steve, we want you on that board, so they do support it, so I would
Okay,
recommend doing that. Yes.
that's great. Do you have a feeling for, based on a few of the projects that I threw out, do you think one would score better or be more favorable?
I think that the 3 that you said, any of those would be fine. If you do the seed for the sidewalk maintenance, I know that would be important. Or then if you, here's another thing, if you do for the design engineering, that could plant a seed. Well, we do have funds over in our PA road program for design engineering, so let's get those funds from there.
Okay,
And they're the ones that would approve that for design engineering for that
Okay.
program. So,
Could actually pull from a different pool of money and
yes.
could sit on their
Or
radar.
they could end up giving you both. They could, if you do the design engineering, they could give you some funds for that and say, okay, we have, go talk to Rob Kalflesh and see if you can work out the design engineering.
okay,
Because sometimes what we do is, the design engineering, we'll do it in-house with our GTEC corporation that the tribe owns. They have engineers on board, and they do a lot of our engineering.
okay,
So it could be positive in any direction that you go.
okay.
Is the property there on the bay, is that moving towards becoming a public park? Did I see that in something?
Right now, it's in a GTD land conservancy. They're trying to determine what the use will be. When it is in a conservancy like that, it's open to the public. Right now, you might see some signs there for no trespass. Those are old signs we just haven't gotten to.
Gotcha.
We've had issues with trespassing, people driving cars on the site, and homeless people there, which we've addressed. So we just haven't changed the signs yet.
So if we walk along the beach to that property, we
And
could,
even the beach is all open to the public.
Yeah.
Below the high water mark, you can walk there.
Mm-hmm.
But on the property itself, being in a trust like, or
Mm-hmm.
in a conservancy like that, it's open.
okay, that's good to know.
With that being said, if it's moving towards, being a public park all the time or open, I feel like the design for the sidewalks there could be more important,
Mhm.
to get more usage there, if that's what the goal and intent is to get people using it.
Yeah, and with me, back years ago, I was trying to push getting a pedestrian bridge there. And I think with this, that could be a good part of that project. It's having a pedestrian bridge right over
So
there.
would that be a pedestrian bridge that's separate from the bridge, like the road bridge
Correct.
that goes?
It'd be
So it'd be like a
separate.
separate, maybe
Yes.
closer to the water?
Safer.
Okay.
Because right now, if you look in the water, in the creek, there's an exposed water main there that's in the water. It'd be nice to kind of have a bridge over that so you don't see that. And plus it'll be safer for pedestrians because you all know the traffic, how fast they drive through there.
It's pretty scary walking on that little.
It is, there's a little
bridge.
path that they have there between the curb and, yeah.
Okay. So is this group kind of, are you guys kind of leaning in the direction of applying for some grant funds for the preliminary design engineering for pedestrian bridge and sidewalk along that stretch?
I think that's a great ask. It's, a bigger chunk of money perhaps, and it's directly related to their projects, their property. So, it seems like it would be looked favorably upon.
Okay.
I think it'd be a really nice compliment to if the motel that's across the road ever came to fruition with what, the whole thing that we're trying to do here, make more public areas, and that being right across the road from there, pretty much, right, isn't it? The motel, and then,
Pretty close.
yeah, it's getting people across the road still, but if there's a crossing there, that would certainly help.
Yeah, so
And-
maybe we look at the feasibility of a hawk signal too, kind of at the far west end of the property.
Yeah, it would be closer more towards like Culver's than at the corner at Michigan.
Yeah, okay,
Just because of
just trying to
its
visualize,
visibility.
yep.
But I mean, who doesn't want to get from pick up your Culvers, walk across the road, sit on the beach?
And that Hawk crossing would be, I think, instrumental between the residential and the rest of the community. Plus, you won't have sidewalks to nowhere. And that could be an issue with, the tribal council saying, well, we don't want
Yeah.
sidewalks to nowhere. We've done that before. We
Yeah.
don't want to do it anymore, so.
Okay,
Yeah, and I just
terrific.
think like considering public sentiment about safety and obviously a bit of outrage about the bridge, it'd be nice if we show that we're working towards safer crossings, and that's like still a top of mind issue for
Yeah.
us as well.
I wonder how, yeah, we're going to have to take a look at, we have so many driveways right there. Maybe Culvers will make theirs right only or something.
It's a great connection to
It'll
the
be-
Pine Grove neighborhood.
Yeah,
Really supports, the locals using it.
What's that dental office? Just because of like less traffic.
yeah. Yeah, we can definitely explore that. So we will plan to put that grant application in. Thank you, Steve, for bringing that to our attention. And we will also get it on our radar for the November 30th grant cycle too. Maybe that would be our sidewalk maintenance, get a little bit of funds to help supplement
Yeah,
for
or
that.
if they like give us partial for this, then we ask for, just keep it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. Okay, that
So,
sounds
Real
good.
quick, Steve, you brought up sidewalk to nowhere. Is this really a sidewalk to nowhere, though, technically? Like, we're not gonna, that we can't connect anything on that side of the,
Yeah, I think it would be, if we could if we, get there and we can cross over to Culvers.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the connection that it would make. You cross to Culvers and continue to the west, and then to the east, we've got the new state park sidewalk, so you can
Right.
continue that way.
so that would be the end technically of the sidewalk then, to
Yeah,
maintain.
yeah.
That residential area is part of the beach district.
Yeah.
We said that we wouldn't prioritize sidewalks in front
No,
of their homes.
that doesn't make sense, yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's the right-of-way and the
Right.
utility lines are pretty challenging right now, the way that. Okay, well, thank you. We will work on this grant application. Do you want to make a motion for staff to develop the grant application for the May 31 cycle? Just so we have that in our minutes?
Yeah, would anyone like to make a motion for the staff to complete this grant application pertinent to preliminary design for the sidewalks by the Grand Traverse Band property?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been passed for the staff to complete the grant application.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion has been passed. Moving on to update on development and TIF plan process.
Okay, so this is the fun part. Everyone see that up there? So you've got in your plan, and I don't have it in front of me, but our original revenue projections for the plan, we used basically a 2% rate of growth. And what we've found, we looked back over the last 5 years, we had that information easily accessible in BSNA, and we saw that over the last 5 years, we're looking at closer to a 9 to 10% rate of growth for the district. That's based on the development, based on just COLA, and just kind of that increasing, the inflation was quite high, as well as, new properties that were sold and uncapped. So we are seeing a high rate of growth. So what we went back and we made some adjustments. We're projecting, instead of a 2% rate of growth for the next 20 years, we did a 4% rate of growth. And so at this point, we're just looking at some different scenarios because we don't have the final county policy in place. But we do know that the county would be only looking at their general operating. I think that millage rate is like about 4.6 mills for the county general operating, but we've taken out road commission, animal control, veterans, all of those other, conservation district, road commission. So all of those have been removed, but because we're looking at this 4% growth rate, we also are looking at the county, instead of contributing 100% of that millage rate, one assumption that we're making, and there's been some discussion that potentially this would be a part of the policy, would be a 50% revenue. So say the county, the revenue for year one for that incremental increase in taxable value, say that was 30% or $30,000, $15,000 would go back to county general operating and $15,000 would go into the TIF. So the county would be contributing 50% of that incremental increase in taxable value each year along the corridor. That's the assumption we're making. We're also making a similar assumption that NMC would contribute 50%. East Bay Township obviously will contribute 100% of our millage within that district. And we also have indication from the Beta Board that they're interested in contributing 100%. So looking at those different assumptions and looking back at our 20-year capture, we're still looking at about $6 million for revenue. So those are kind of our updated projections based on the revenue sharing, taking out the different taxing jurisdictions, but also increasing the rate of growth. So that 4% is a higher rate of growth than what we see kind of across the state of Michigan as a whole. But I think with this district and a lot of the development that we're seeing, it's a reasonably conservative growth rate for projections. So just wanted to share that. And then I'll show the other one.
Before you move on, can you
Sure.
discuss the 4% a little bit more and how you came to the conclusion to raise that up from 2%?
So the 2% is very conservative, and we feel like it was probably a little bit overly conservative, just based on looking at the last 5 years. The last 5 years have been closer to 9%, and in some instances even higher. So it's really hard to kind of know what projection to look at. And I think the 2%, 2.2% to 2.5% is more in line with kind of the state average and what we see kind of across the state for revenue. But because we have a lot of new developments going in, we think that likely over the course of the TIF, the rate of growth will be significantly higher than 2%. We don't want to go with 9%. That would be, we still want to be conservative, but we feel like the 4% would still be a conservative rate of growth. So it's really hard to make those projections, and we don't really have a great mechanism for making those, but
Further beyond just 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
we, like back in time, we have not, we have somewhat limited with our BSNA system. We were kind of easily able to get the 5 years back, and going back beyond that was, would be quite a bit of manual pulling individual parcels, and we didn't have a great way of calculating that.
I completely agree that the past 5 years have seen a lot of legacy properties come for sale that were capped and became uncapped, and a lot of new development. I worry that in 10 to 15 years, if you'll see outside of, sales, which can happen, there's not as much opportunity for these large tax captures, just because the change from vacant land to a hotel or an apartment building aren't going to be available anymore. So maybe it'll average out to 4%, and we'll see, like, again, like the 9-10% in the next couple of years. But we're kind of at a point where there's not as much opportunity for those large raises in the district after these last few sites do get developed.
Yeah. Part of our reason for having a little bit higher projection is there's part of the draft county policy is that if our rate of growth is higher than projected, there's some limitations in terms of what we can use the revenue for. So we don't want to go significantly lower than what our rate of growth is, with concerns that then we wouldn't be able to see that growth come to fruition.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And there's no negative if we overproject?
If we overproject, I guess the biggest negative is that we just, we've got all these projects, so we don't have the revenue for it. Yeah.
But we're not committing ahead of time? to
No.
things that we don't have funding for.
No, because I think we could potentially bond for certain projects, but I think, if before we bond, we're not necessarily just going to say, not going to
Yeah.
just look at this. We're going to look at a lot of other financial indicators before doing that.
You said there's a lot of development. Do we know, what that development is, obviously? Is it in the Beach District?
When previous, past
No,
development
as
or
of
future?
I thought you were talking future. You're saying there's.
I would say in terms of future, we've got obviously one more hotel going in at the Tamarack. We have one more hotel going in next to the Residence Inn. We have 2 different sites that are, I think, likely to redevelop, one at 3 Mile and US 31, where the Hilton Hotel was approved, and then we have the vacant parcel right next to the state park. So I think those are kind of the 4 big sites where we're going to see development. But we also have a number of different infill opportunities. We have the Mitchell Creek Inn is one that is interested in redeveloping. We have we call it the O'Grady property, but it's changed hands and it was sold. So I think that there are a number, and I've had a number of different developers approach, just with, the Justin Mortier owned that property. I think that's up for sale now. So there's a number of different sites where there is interest. Are they going to be huge redevelopments? Probably not. We also have the Calypso property. That's a multifamily that's going in. Right next door to it, we have the Park Shore Vacation Rentals that was approved. So I think that there's a number of different infill sites. Are they going to be quite at the scale of what we've seen over the last 5 years? Probably not, but I do think there's quite a bit of potential for future development and investment. I think the Break and Waves site that's right next to the Brio Beach is another, future site for likely redevelopment. So, any questions on this one? I wanted to show you the other projection, because right now the draft policy for the county, we would love them to adopt a policy that says there's 50% revenue sharing. The other one that they're looking at, and the way that their draft ordinance is written, is that they would contribute an equal amount to what the township contributes, no more. So obviously, the township, our millage rate right now is 0.67, so it's pretty low. And so even with us contributing 100% of our tax capture with our millage rate, if the county is contributing an equal amount, you'll see, they'd be contributing $1 million over the life, we'd contribute $1 million, making the assumption that NMC also would contribute an equal amount, then you'll see that our revenue goes down to about 3.8 million. So that's another kind of, we're looking at some different alternatives, so that's another possible alternative. And that's, again, keeping with that 4% rate of growth, which is maybe not quite as conservative as what we had originally had. So just wanted to share those with you. We will definitely are going to continue to stay engaged with the county. I think we were going to present 2 weeks ago. They delayed our presentation just because they wanted to work on their policy. Then we were, I think, on the agenda preliminarily for yesterday, but they delayed, so we haven't had the opportunity to present the project yet. And I think that we've had quite a few meetings with individual county commissioners, but haven't presented the project to the full county commission. So I think that'll be a nice opportunity just to share kind of where we've come, the public engagement process, and kind of make the case for the benefits of this from an economic development standpoint, from a public safety, placemaking, supporting workforce housing, surrounding the corridor, those types of things.
Has the county, what's their temperature on this project? I mean, is there support? Is there?
That's kind of where it's a little not sure yet, just because we haven't had that opportunity to present this project.
What's their match rate for the DDA?
I believe it's 100%.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
there's probably zero likelihood they would do that here.
I think so, yeah.
What's their timeline for figuring that out?
Well,
A couple months before we,
they have 60 days from our public hearing to either opt out or enter into a revenue sharing agreement. So we're hoping that we can get that revenue sharing agreement in place before the 60 days from the public hearing. If we don't enter into that revenue sharing agreement within that 60 days, likely they would opt out and then hopefully revisit the revenue sharing agreement afterwards. Because if they don't opt out and we don't have a revenue sharing agreement in place, then that puts them kind of at a 100% opt-in.
Have you run any of the numbers? If the county opts out, what do we look at then for the capture?
Significantly less, so like with the 50-50 split, you'll see the county would be contributing 3.4 million of a, $6.7 million. So they're over 50% contribution. So it'd be a pretty big hit.
And do you have a date now on the calendar for presenting, or no, they still haven't?
No, we've sent them all of our slides, and we're kind of all queued up to give that presentation, so it's just a matter of them putting us on the agenda. So I will definitely let you know once we hear a date.
And, yeah.
okay. Thank you for that update. Do we have any comment and consideration for future agenda items that we'd like to get on for next month?
I just had one comment. What's going on we just talked about the property between State Park and Hampton in there. Is that been sold? Is there any opportunity for us to take a look at that? I mean, I'm sure it's going to be costly, but it is to me, that would be an excellent opportunity for a mixed-use kind of public-private partnership with the food trucks and the
Absolutely.
retail and, I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
so I actually just had a phone call yesterday with somebody, a developer that's interested in purchasing that property. I've talked with 2 different developers that are interested in that property and I've sent them like the Beach District sub-area plan, let them know that we're very interested in a mix of different housing options, if we can have some workforce, understanding that likely some would need to be market rate just to make the pro forma work, but that we'd love to have some dedicated to workforce housing, that we'd like mixed use, that that we've looked at food trucks and other, connectivity with the TART trail. So all of that information has been shared. I've connected them with some of the different tax incentives and kind of what the township has participated in the past with like the housing TIF, brownfield plans, connected them with like MEDC and some of those opportunities. So I think absolutely a public-private partnership would be great, and we will definitely try to be proactive as that property changes hands. I think the feasibility of like the township purchasing the property is probably low, just with the price but I think, if and when a private developer purchases it, we will look for opportunities for partnership. And I mean, both of the potential buyers that I've spoken with seem very receptive to some of the plans from the township.
And that site plan expired.
Yes. Yeah, so we don't have any approved site plan right now on that property.
And there's, I mean, obviously, it's right of use, what they could put, but does the township have the ability to say,
Really only if we bought it.
okay,
Yeah.
how much is it?
You know how much it is? 4?
I don't know if they've come down since, what they-
6, right, or 4?
it was like 4.5.
Oh, okay,
But with interest, I assume maybe they've come down a little bit.
yeah. You don't want to buy it?
I mean, we could ask the township board if they, I don't think that's a little outside of even the fund
No, it
balance.
was too much for the DNR to even consider.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it'd be a good opportunity, though. That could be the prime
Yeah.
driving people, that they'll actually stop instead of going straight through, and that could be the anchor.
Yeah.
And you've got the state park, you've got the tribal property there, you've got, yeah, everything's kind
It's an
of,
awesome location.
yeah, it's all walking within Beach District.
Is there an opportunity to speak with our legislators? Like you said, the DNR wouldn't consider it, but they just spent $18 million on property in Midland. Can they speak with the DNR on something like that and maybe change their tune a little bit?
You know what, we do have a meeting scheduled with DNR and also with Representative Kofia about the bridge and kind of, so I will definitely bring up that property, because I think that part of the challenge with the DNR is just the kind of the location of where that bridge would be. So I will definitely mention that property and that's available. And even if they're not purchasing the entire property, could there be an opportunity for an easement for those connections?
I think when they were considering it, it would have been as part of their expansion for the campsite. So to add more sites for the campground.
Right,
But they moved back instead of.
to the east.
Yeah, and they didn't add any campsites when yeah,
Yeah, they just.
but
They
moved their headquarters, yeah.
I had a question on, we talked just briefly about Traverse City tourism dollars, the hotel tax. I really don't know how that works at all. I think other people in this room would know much more than me, but, that wouldn't be necessarily TIF related, but it's another funding mechanism if we can, the hotels are already paying it, and there are many hotels in the district that are paying into that. So I'm not asking where all that money is going, but can some of it come this way for some of these projects to support the hotels that are in it? I know that's way tourism related, but it's a funding source if we can get our hands on some of it.
I would defer to Rob and Ally for,
Yeah, I can talk
Both.
a little
They-
bit about that. And we met with Whitney at Traverse City Tourism yesterday, and Rob and I are actually on the board of directors, so.
Okay.
Just to provide a little insight, any lodging property in the assessed district, which is essentially Grand Traverse County, over 10 rooms pays 5% in assessment to Traverse City Tourism on any lodging revenue. So there are a great deal of member properties, and we also have people outside the district that choose to opt in, just to be a part of the organization. But it is a designated marketing organization, so by the Public Act, that assessed revenue goes towards promoting Traverse City as a four-season destination. So essentially, a large marketing budget. We talked to Whitney, there are a great deal of properties that pay assessments in the Beach District. And if there was an opportunity where an event or potentially a large-scale, you saw with like the Fieldhouse redevelopment or project arose that would promote overnight lodging and support our assessed members, there could be an opportunity for fundraising. So if there was a big event that brought a lot of people to town and had them stay overnight, they could look to sponsor or provide marketing money. If there was a smaller event, that would just come maybe out of our general marketing fund. So there's different buckets or breakdowns that we can allocate funds to. It just depends what the return would be for our member properties and if it fell legally under what we're allowed to allocate money to as well. So there is opportunity for sure. It would mostly be, and it would be, work well with the TIF because a lot of it would probably be non-infrastructure related, which is where we're limited from other assessments. So it could help support if there was like a large festival or a large scale event, similar to like Food and Wine or, Cherry Festival or anything that would bring people from out of town. That's where we could see support for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. So not up here.
No, unless it, again, you just have to be able to show that the overnight lodging stay that would then go back and capture revenue that could come back to Traverse City Tourism was worth the investment. Because we have to report back to these hotels and say, we're spending your money,
Right.
but are we putting more heads in beds? So, we have some limitations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay. Any public comment? Okay, sounds pretty quiet. Upcoming meeting dates, we have a special meeting with the Township Board next week. That's Tuesday night?
Tuesday evening, yep,
March 24th at
6:30.
6:30 PM.
And you should all have packets for that meeting on your desk.
Hence the double packet.
Our regular meeting is scheduled next month, April 16th at 9 AM. And with that, I announce that this meeting is adjourned.